Hello, welcome back to Showboys. We're here. It's another Thursday. Happy NFL Draft Day for those of you who celebrate. Um, but we're not here to talk about the draft or football. We're here to talk about
No.
actually important things
Heck
like
yeah.
Chapter 1 of Season 2 of Andor. It's finally here.
Sure words.
Nick is here, and we're live. So just a reminder, if you tune in, jump in during the live stream, feel free to leave a comment. We'll throw it up on the screen, talk about it. Let us know how you felt about Chapter 1, Season 2 of Andor. But Nick, my dude, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. Star Wars season is officially upon us. We had like the Star Wars celebration or something or another, where basically they're leaking and revealing everything for the next 2 years at least of official additions to the IP. So
Mm.
Lego sets galore, new movies or confirmations on movies and shows that we more or less know about. And then everyone gets to kind of gauge the direction
Yeah.
of the IP here, reset
They
expectations.
they did announce a mall series.
Yes, that looks most excellent.
And then we got
and and the mall series is kind of like Tales. I feel like,
animated.
yeah, a
Yeah.
structure like that.
Um
Yes, sir.
and we got confirmation on the long rumored Ryan Gosling Star Wars movie that is shoot some starfighter or something. I don't know, I forget.
Is he the
Um
Starfighter one? I saw a picture of him in like Jedi robes. Maybe they're gonna be like Jedi starfighters.
that is the movie, right? Starfighter?
Well, there's that, but also there is like a movie about the first Jedi.
No, he's definitely in the fighter one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um,
Um
yeah, I
but
saw
yeah,
that. I think I completely forgot he was going to be in a Star Wars just because I
because
don't
it's
take.
been rumored for so
Yeah,
long. It's been like 2 or 3 years of this like Ryan Gosling's going to be in a Star Wars movie.
he's such an interesting person.
Yeah.
Just because you see him in he just covers so many different mediums.
Mhm.
It's just funny because I saw him in Jedi robes and I'm like, I'm not buying it right away. Because I just think of him from a bunch of other stuff where
Yeah.
he is not in a Star Wars esque demeanor acting. So I'll be very interesting to see how Ryan Gosling either brings Ryan Gosling into Star Wars and like makes it good, or is able to like shed the Ryan Gosling skin that he has.
Yeah, he's interesting. The one movie that sticks out to me for him is super random, pretty old. Lars and the Real Girl. Recommend that if anyone's never seen it. He like falls in love with um a a blow up doll.
Oh yeah.
uh, anyways, we're not here to talk about Star Wars Celebration, even though it did come packed with a lot of confirmations and a few announcements. We're here to talk about Andor. Season 2 kicked off just 2 short evenings ago on Tuesday. The first 3 episodes were out. Um, I finished up my watch last night. A lot of people are reacting already as they do with new, shows and movies on the internet. You were telling me this morning about some of the stuff you were coming across.
Yeah.
What's the general consensus outside of Showboys?
Yeah, so I mean the general consensus I think is still the same. And we can talk about this as we kind of go through these episodes and like overall thoughts on this first chapter. But we're definitely still divided as always with Star Wars. We have the this is boring as hell. Why do we need
Yeah.
it crew? And then we have the like this is awesome crew where it's like peak Star Wars. But the new addition here um, to that dichotomy is the this is boring crap. Now
Mm.
it's like this is boring crap, but why is there sexual assault now in my Star Wars? That's the big thing. Um, so that's the new revelation that has everyone really spicy.
Yeah.
but either it's funny because I watch Screen Crush. He does like the
Mhm.
Easter egg recaps, which are always awesome because they're
Yeah.
I assume team of people who put that together are because they find so many references to things. Sometimes they get stuff wrong, and that's okay. They got one notably thing wrong in here, but
You
then
have to you have to you have to put them on blast. What they
oh,
get
everyone
wrong.
did in the comments. Basically, they just called it some obscure like jungle planet, but really it is Yavin 4. In fact, as they reveal it at at the end of episode 3.
Mm.
And then you have the Star Wars theory end of things. So like Screen Crush is like really this is awesome. It's so detailed. They spend so much time with like the design and the story and all the Easter eggs. Like that's to me that's where like you can still have fun if you keep up and like make all those dots because it is just when you look at it that through that lens,
Mhm.
they clearly put a lot of attention to detail in these shows, right?
Right.
As much as we like to like pick on certain shows, they all do have an incredible amount of like tie-ins and references and like just expanding the universe. Um, so as bad as the shows might be, they still contain all of that like treasure. That when you look at it through that lens, there's something to be had there.
You're not really
Um,
selling it for me, Nick.
what?
As bad as the shows might be,
Yeah.
you squint hard enough.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, no, I'm just saying that like when a lot of times like they call like the writers and the creators like lazy or like they just don't care. They clearly
Mhm.
care to some level. Um,
Yeah.
the detail is always mostly there.
Yeah.
And that's like what the Screen Crush is great at pointing out because they find all the Easter eggs and references. But that's obviously easy to collect a bunch of Easter eggs and references and then make a show. Um,
Mhm.
and then clearly I think it comes down to more just like the temperament of the content that really kind of triggers people one way or another. Because then you have the Star Wars theory crowd where he was just abysmally depressed about this whole situation. He thinks it's boring and has a big issue with the sexual assault in Star Wars, which I get. I definitely get it because I spent plenty of time reading the comments and going through everyone's like opinions, and it makes sense. I understand it. But I think I don't know. Like I told you, I watched Andor on Tuesday and then watched
Mhm.
the latest episode of Handmaid's Tale on Wednesday. So like I guess my exposure and like care
What's the
for
difference?
that type of content where I did watch it and I was like, this is different. But like we've noted with Andor, it has been different the whole way.
Yeah.
Very much more adult themed focused. And to me, like, yeah, they took it a step further there. But it didn't bother me. And then I watched
Right.
Handmaid's Tale the next day and I'm like, oh well yeah, that's why it doesn't bother me. I watch stuff that
Yeah. You're
contains this very regularly.
yeah. Yeah.
How'd you feel about it, Mike?
Uh, oh, don't get me started. No, who cares about what I think? I mean, I'm just kidding. Why would I
We
be?
care.
Um,
I care.
yeah, no, I didn't mind that. I mean, I think I kind of expect that level of maturity. Is that what the right word I'm looking for? Uh, like content in the show. It is this show has been like we talked about it in previous episodes as we were going through season one. This show is a completely different type of Star Wars show for a completely different audience, I think, of Star Wars fans and just fans of this genre of show. Like taking like you said, you take the Star Wars out and it's still just like a great thriller espionage type show. Um,
Yeah.
so with that, knowing that and having watched all of season one, when that happens to Bix at the tail end of episode 3 here, not surprised. Saw it coming with the first interaction with this guard. Like,
Yeah.
what did you think was going to happen? It's not like it happened. So I mean, sure that topic is a sensitive topic, but that's why it's powerful and like used because they're trying to prove a point about how scummy the empire is. Um,
The
outside
two
of that,
yeah.
no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the two the two things I have not seen anyone really kind of mention. Well, one's in addition to what people say. In the sense that people say where it's like it's the Empire. We don't need like any more reinforcement that they are evil and bad, right? So it's like we get it. Like the Empire are the bad guys. We don't need to take it to this next level to show
Mhm.
how disgusting and evil they may be. But I will counter that and say I'm not so sure because even myself and I'm many people, we do idolize and like the Empire because they have good characters and
Yeah,
there are
and
dynamics
because
there.
you're a cruddy person, but also
Right.
because they have good characters.
But people enjoy the Empire. They're an enjoyable thing. And to me, this kind of reminds us that it's like only so far. Like they are still essentially space Nazis. Um,
Yeah.
so to me, it's a nice pulse check in terms of let's remember, folks, these are the bad guys because that can get lost. That I
Yeah,
think that gets lost a lot in Star Wars because it's all so fun.
right.
And I
And,
guess
like,
that sucks a lot of the fun people have for the Empire, and they just feel cruddy now
"Ah, crap."
because I mean, I like rooting for Daedra, even though she's a little crazy, but I
Yeah,
like
she
that character. I like Krennic. We like these characters, but it's
yeah,
like at some point we still have to reframe the focus that why are they the bad guys? Oh yeah, they are continuously bad, even
yeah,
down
yeah.
in the trenches.
Yeah, and, like, there's been a big swing in media noticeable, not like this is the beginning of it or, just happened,
Beginning.
within the last, like, I don't know, um, since, like, the first Black Panther movie,
Mm,
or you could even say,
the first
like,
Black Panther.
the first saga of the Avengers, right, against Thanos, where, you know, stories are starting to, like, bend the line between
Yeah.
hero and villain, where, like, villains have now become so relatable, and
Hmm.
you're kind of, like, watching something, and you're like, "Oh, I could
I
kinda
get that.
see I
I'm
kinda
with
get
that.
it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
So, yeah.
apparently mass genocide like Thanos did isn't
Yeah, not
enough
enough.
to hate the guy.
Yeah,
So they
because I mean,
didn't do
hey.
enough for people to not like Thanos. People like Thanos. Like
Yeah.
we did something wrong in our story there. We have people that are like, you know what?
One,
Good idea. Snap
you
it away.
know, to give him some credit, he did save technically half of the universe,
Yes.
and also, if you don't want people to like him, don't make him look like Grimace.
Hey, the Empire saved half the galaxy, sure.
Yeah,
And
but, and, like, Black Panther, I think, is the most notable because Killmonger was, like, the way they made that character, he was very
right,
relatable, right? But
right.
yeah, so it's always good to have, like, a good reminder, like, "No, these are the bad guys.
Yeah.
They do bad
Like,
things.
yeah. I
You
guess
you
they're
probably
cool.
shouldn't like them."
Yeah. And in the frame of the story, clearly, like, the Empire has not redeeming qualities, but, like, in redeeming story qualities, why we like them as the bad guys. But in the context of this show, we're
Man,
talking
if
about
you
a
were around
very
in, like, the late '40s, Nick, I'd be a little questionable.
yeah.
Okay.
Um, and I think in frame of this show where they take it all a little bit more seriously and they relate it much more strongly to real world situations,
Mhm.
I think that's why this show warrants that. Like, obviously, they shouldn't put that in Rebels. They shouldn't put that in the animated shows or in the movies, right? It doesn't warrant it, but for Andor,
Right.
it does. And the
And
other thing that I haven't seen anyone note, and I think this is just kind of like part of the problem, is everyone's like, "Oh, you don't need to add that because we know this empire is this, and we understand all that context." But it's like, but here's the other thing about Andor. That was very critical to Bix's story. Like to me, it had nothing to do with showing that the Empire was super evil. It was more so, hey, here's a traumatized character who literally was broken down mentally and is still
yeah,
haunted by the Empire's presence. And here they are again, literally
yeah,
terrorizing her. So to
yeah,
me, it was more about Bix. Like they why they put that in there was not to prove a point about the Empire or to be have shock value. It was to really brutalize this character
Yeah,
that's
they
already
just
been through a
do
lot.
not like poor Bix.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I guess like the other thing is like it's not like this is the first scene of the first episode of Andor. Period. Like we're at this point, it would have been 15 episodes into the show before this happens.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, you should be aware of the temperature of the room, so to speak. Outside of that though, like how do I say this? Chapter 1 largely forgettable for me. I was a little disappointed, not gonna lie. Mainly episodes 1 and 2, very forgettable. And outside of like the opening scene, which was really
Right.
cool, the test pilot, like Cassian,
So
like
good. We'll talk
not
about
knowing how
that.
to
Yeah.
fly this TIE
So good.
fighter was awesome. Outside of that, like the Mon stuff is good, but the whole like I don't even know, way too much time on this planet
The
with
rebel,
the two rebel groups like
the
fighting
shitty
with each
rebel
other.
group.
Like it wasn't funny, and like it was trying to be funny, and it just was way we were there
Yeah.
way too long, and like
Yes.
nothing happened. It was just like a waste of time.
Yeah.
Um and then it just like uneventful up until like, you know, a quarter of the way through episode 3. Then like
Yeah.
things started happening and I was like, okay. Yeah, I'm back. You got me. I'm back. Um what about you?
Yeah, no, similar. So I was definitely by by time, but definitely by the like middle of this arc, I was thinking about our conversation of saying, keeping in mind like what's the best three episode arc, right, in Andor, and we have four new ones coming up, and now we have five in the bag. This one's definitely the weakest of all them all,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but that's not to say there aren't some. It still follows the same pattern. We have the
Yeah.
first episode that sets up a bunch of stuff, the middle episode that just kind of really layers and doubles down on what episode 1 was setting up, and then the third one is the one that pulls it all together and actually goes somewhere. And that's just how we felt about the last 4 chapters, where the third one in each arc is always the finale that has the most memorable and impactful stuff happen. The
Yeah.
rest is a lot of setup dialogue they take their time exploring. The problem with this one is that jungle plot where it feels like the majority of episode 8, The Last Jedi, the movie,
Mhm.
can't say episode 8, The Last Jedi, where we have this entire like plot arc where they go to the casino planet and they do the thing and they get all the way back to everyone and it didn't even matter. It's just like no big deal.
Right.
Nonsense. So I don't know if it was they just like I think in what I saw in Screen Crush's coverages, they were kind of saying that there was three like lenses that they were showing about the rebellion, where we have the like high society end of it where the money's moving around and we're even talking about some assassination stuff. We have the Cassian Bix crew where they are like organized and like really fledging but like doing stuff that's important with
Mhm.
um the high society stuff. And then we have these super like barely put together rebel groups that infight and are not effective, but they are
Yeah.
part of this. And this group was even mentioned by name by Saw in season 1.
Oh, really?
So a lot of this stuff all has like connections, at least verbally, from other scenes, which was cool. But yeah, I totally agree. Weakest of the 5 chapters so far, and
Yeah,
it's
and even
really
if
the
you
jungle stuff that drags it way down.
yeah. And even if you look at each chapter as its own movie, which, kind of similar-ish runtimes to a movie,
Yeah,
it'd be
I
like
mean, this
a
was like
shorter end
50.
movie, but
It was like 50 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes here.
yeah. Um, even if you look at each chapter as a movie, this is still the weekend. Like, I would still have problems if this was a movie, just because it just, I I enjoy slow burn stuff. Like I
Yeah.
loved the first chapter 1 of season 1 was great because the slow moving things were like interesting
Yeah.
and like there was tension and like it was good. And this is just not. Um
Well,
but yeah, I don't know. Anyways.
one I guess one issue is maybe what this is closest to is episodes 7, 8, 9 of season 1,
Mm,
where this does, unlike episodes 1 through 6 that are two distinct arcs in season 1, this
yeah.
doesn't feel like a distinct arc. Even though it's like a 1 year later, it really just feels like a year later, here's kind of a catch up on where things are at, right? There
Right.
wasn't there wasn't that big like finale that the first two arcs of season 1 had, where they were certainly compartmentalized and could be viewed in isolation. Whereas 7, 8, 9 are just really set up for 10, 11, 12. So
Yeah.
maybe the next 3 episodes here are like that. Where we kind of build upon what we just saw.
Yeah.
So they're definitely not sticking to like a strict playbook here. Because this does not feel at all like the first 3 episodes of season 1.
Yeah. Yeah, it just seemed like a big tonal difference too,
Very.
which I don't know. We'll see. But like the back half of episode 3 like was and the opening of episode 1 like
Yes.
that was Andor, and
Yes.
then everything in between was just like Mandor, like Mando, or
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I don't know. They tried to like make it funny. There's just a lot of not
All the
really
Mon stuff,
much.
all the Mon stuff dragged along, and we obviously spent a lot of time exploring Chandrillin marriage
Yeah.
weekend, but it was still had that feeling of being all linearly tied and slow
Mhm.
burning the punchline of that arc that we
Yeah.
get to. Whereas the jungle thing is really just like, how can we keep Cassian out of the mix here? So Bix and Brasso and spoiler, Brasso dies. Like, how do we
Right.
just keep Andor away from them so more tragedy can happen to Andor's people? And I thought about that
Right.
too, because I was like, I'm pretty sure in Rogue One he might mention like how he's lost a ton of people. I don't think any of his crew make it in Andor
Oh,
here in season
sheesh.
2.
Sheesh.
Bix is getting axed, B's getting axed,
I
the
hope
kids
Bix.
getting axed.
I hope it's quick for
There's
Bix.
4 of them, and there's 4 chapters, and Brasso got it hit in chapter 1. Just saying. They
Mm,
ain't making it, man.
yeah. All right. Let's get started. Let's dive in.
23 minutes, you said it. We're
I
done.
know we're actually done. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Um, that was high level thoughts and recap of
Yes.
Andor. Now we go into like the actual kind of detailed recap. So you may please stick around and enjoy.
Yes, but go sign up for Patreon first.
Da-da-da-da.
Patreon.com/Showboys Podcast.
Boom. Okay. Like you discussed, the beginning of episode 1, awesome. Kind of feels like the beginning of maybe Mando, like the very beginning, where we start off with just like no, just hitting all the punches because
Yeah.
we're on a planet called Sinar. This is again a a corporation town planet, just like Morana or wherever Cyril worked, right?
Hmm.
This isn't the Empire. This is a company that works for the Empire to build military tech
Yeah.
weapons.
Yeah. They're at a
Um,
test facility.
yeah, they're at a facility. Um, but I do like though that we are still showing how the Empire is contracting out work. They can't do it all, and they're still, I guess, getting up and running. Um, but yeah, this is owned by Cinar Fleet Systems. They built stuff during the Clone Wars for the Republic, and what we see here is Andor infiltrates this place as a test pilot. It makes way more sense that he's able to do this because it is a corporation. It's not the Empire. So it's even easier for someone like Andor to really just show up and be like, I'm the guy.
Yeah.
Corporation's like, sounds great. we're
Yeah.
really running out of you test pilots because they seem just to die. Um, but this is a fun. I like this because we see this in Rebels. We see this in Clone Wars, where we talk about these experimental craft, because there is this fun to me across a lot of these shows where we are talking about how can we get the edge on each other. Empire's building cool new TIE fighters. The Rebels are trying to find X Wings, Y Wings, and like allocate the gear to fight each other. So this is actually a TIE Avenger that we see from the X-Wing games in Legends. It's kind of like it's a precursor to the TIE Interceptor, which we actually see in the movies.
Mm.
So like the differences in this one is obviously it's way too complicated to control, and we see that with Andor where he jumps in, he's like, ah, crap, which is a nice diversion from season one where Cassian was always on his homeworld and always had the edge on everybody. Whereas this, we kind of see yet again another like series of Han Solo related gaffes where the ship doesn't work correctly. He can't get it to work. He goes to shoot the gun and it makes the sound like, it just fails to launch. So
Mhm.
more Han Solo esque gaffes and characteristics we see in Andor here. And I like that he walks into a situation and is like, oh dear, I'm in over my head. So
Yeah.
that's nice to see. Um,
Yeah, I also loved his interaction with the employee there.
yeah.
She wouldn't look at him. She's like, "I can't look at you."
Oh, I'm not supposed to look at you. Like, I like to know. I want to know. Who told her that? Like, was it like Luthen's like helper, where she was like, "Don't look at him." Like, she's super
Right.
serious and strict, and then Andor's just like, "Hey, chill. It's okay."
Yeah, but, like, he was a sweet guy.
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, man, you're the real hero," essentially.
Again, he's just coaching
Yeah,
people up to be
you're
the
making
heroes
it
we need.
happen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's totally bought in.
yeah.
He absorbed the young philosopher lad from season
Oh,
one.
yeah,
Can never remember his
I
name.
was I was just gonna call him Krennic.
No,
No, no.
no.
Why can I never remember this guy's name? I loved his
I
character.
know he's so good.
Obviously not enough.
But yeah, we see a very like personable Andor, kind of as always, and um, that's how he kind of moves through things. Like he's kind of coaching her, and he's like, welcome to this moment when you're stepping into the circle. And it's kind of cool though too that they definitely frame it as she's out of there, like she's not sticking around, like she kind of just blew having a job there most likely,
Yeah.
so she's dipping, which is a cool detail in my mind, because that's something Andor does is we get the context and this detail on all of these otherwise side characters that just get blown up or cast to the side while our heroes run about the galaxy and do their thing. But I do like that we spend extra attention, like, yeah, everyone's kind of people in here and everyone's doing their part. um but yeah, he gets in the ship. He doesn't know how to fly. It's got some really cool advanced controls. The Avenger here, it's got two extra seats in the back. And we know that the Empire eventually moves toward having just single seaters because their TIE fighters and pilots are expendable. So why would you need two passenger seats in this thing along with other stuff? So that's all a good nod. I love seeing range troopers. Those are the dudes that showed up to start blasting the them in the hangar. That's from Solo.
Okay.
So I love seeing them. Those are one of my favorite troopers next to like shore troopers.
What makes them your favorite?
Their armor and their gear is just really cool. They have some serious snow gear basically. They're basically designed for snow environments. But they
They
have a
got
really
the
cool
little
helmet.
fuzzy coats.
They got the gold, like a gold visor that
Ooh.
just reflects all light, just like a space astronaut would
Oh,
have.
nice.
Um, and just like they got the fur
Yeah.
covering like around their neck. Like they're also great minifigures. They're my favorite minifigures. But yeah, they're cool. So
Nice.
I just love seeing them everywhere we go.
Nemec is the young
Oh yeah,
lad's name, by the way.
not to
I
be
had to look it up
confused.
while you were talking.
Not to be confused with where Piccolo's from, Planet Namek, in Dragon Ball Z. But I'm gonna remember that now, though.
Maybe Namek was his father.
No.
That's where it came from.
Yeah. But yeah, so he takes it out. We see this cool chase scene, kind of through the gorge. This TIE Avenger clearly
Why
was
does
built
every
to
planet
last.
have a gorge?
Hey,
Like
man,
every chase scene in Star Wars, they go through a canyon.
our planet has, even the Death Star has one, and it's on a planet. The artificial planet even has a gorge. I don't know. We have them, so that's the best we got.
Yeah, I guess.
And clearly, like, Empire had a lot of like redesign notes for CNR here, because they're like, hey, that took way too much damage flying through that canyon. It needs to blow up the second it touches anything. Because this thing just like drops to the ground constantly. He bangs it off everything.
Yeah.
So
The one contract the Empire should have kept.
no, they want cheap, expendable. They don't want
Mm.
expensive, fancy. But yeah, this was a totally great intro scene, and this is obviously where everyone, even you, were like, "We're so back."
Yeah.
Lasted
Little like 3 minutes.
Yeah, a little preemptive on the "We're so back," because that all ends with him landing on this jungle moon, and he's here to meet up with his contact because they're supposed to take the ship from him, and he's just like getting out of there. He's just doing his relay on the race, and instead he gets jumped by a bunch of goons, a bunch of dumb rebels. Though I do like another little Easter egg here is where they go, "We got 15 guns pointing at you." Very much. And they're like, "Oh, why'd you say 15? Like, you told them literally how many of us there are." That has to be a direct nod again to Solo, because Han Solo does that exact gaffe in that movie toward the end, where he's like, "We got 20 hired guns down in that ship," and the ship flies off. So
Nice.
just fun little gaffes, and they're kind of buried throughout there. Now, the biggest problem, maybe, that jungle thing could have been redeemed. I really thought they were going for like at the very beginning, right when they capture him and toss him into the ship, and they were kind of like held out. I was like, are we gonna get like a horror, like dinosaur in the jungle,
Yeah.
and
Some
even like
65 type vibes.
yeah, like Alien, Predator, any of those nods, right? Where something like that's going on. I
And
really
then they
thought,
have to band together to get out.
right. I thought that's
Yeah.
what this little, see, that would have been fun. That would have redeemed that, because what Star Wars excels at is taking a theme in a type of show, movie, or whatever, and then just put it in Star Wars. If they would have
Yeah.
just gave us like 20 minutes of screen time of like this horror monster in the
Yeah.
jungle,
You know,
I would have
like
been totally worth it.
basically every like 5th episode of Clone Wars.
Yeah. Totally worth it.
Like land on a planet and then have to defeat some sort of creature to survive.
Yep.
Like, come on, that'd have been great.
Yeah. So that's that. Planet Mina Rao. This is a new planet. It's a wheat farming planet, as best we can call it.
You mean Rebel Moon?
Yeah, aka Star Wars was like, yeah, remember that Zack Snyder thing where he was like, he wants to make a Star Wars movie. Let's just take his exact movie and make it Star Wars and make it better.
Dude, that's all I could think about. That's like, wait a second. So this whole planet is just a giant wheat farm that the Empire comes in and gets grain from.
And the main protagonists here are people fleeing the Empire and hiding with the locals. There's even like a feast. They're
just
all of it.
missing the droid. What there are droids, but none of them wearing like deer antlers.
Right.
But there was like that weird like big beefsteak like alien cow.
Well, dude, that's why we have the sexual assault scene, because that's in Rebel Moon. Isn't that
true?
Dude, I think they literally had to rip on Rebel Moon. That's why. That explains it all. No one's talking about this.
Guys, that's why you need to listen to Showboys. We connect all the dots that matter.
Yeah. Wait a second. Yeah. It's a
Wait a
mess.
second. It really is. It really is Rebel Moon,
Yeah,
and that's all I could think about.
yeah. And now the sexual assault thing's fixed. That's why it's there. They
Mhm.
thought they put no extra thought into it other than we need this
Yeah.
scene because it's in Rebel Moon.
The only thing
We
that
have
was
space
missing,
Nazis.
yeah, the only thing that was missing was like the slow motion that's so slow motion that it looks like a person just pretending like they're doing slow motion.
So we should have got our young lad when he's running through the wheat field,
Oh yeah.
like just slow motion the whole time.
But
It's like
like everything else around him is happening at normal speed because he's just pretending to run in slow motion.
um
You're like, dude, what are you doing?
yeah. But we are met here though with Bix, Brasso, B2, and I don't have the other dude's name. Oh,
Yeah.
Will. It's an easy one. Will in here. Um, just this is funny. They're undocumented workers. The Empire's putting the foot down, and we have this little undocumented workers like subplot in here.
How
But
original.
how original. Um, I the biggest like saving grace, obviously, outside of this being like Cassian's kind of crew from Ferrex, so I just feel like a nice little Ferrex carryover, just because these characters are great. Um, but the planet is oddly like gorgeous, being just fields of wheat,
Mhm.
very and someone noted this. Um, the camera's always panning anytime we're on Minarao. Always panning. It's
Oh,
never fixed. Every time it's always panning, and that's the kind of like um,
interesting.
generate a sense of like very openness and big majestic stuff. Whereas like the Empire specifically in contrast to the jungle scenes, always fixed, never moving.
Hmm,
Um, so I thought that was interesting.
that is
Um,
interesting.
and that plays though too also to both the scenes with the imperial officer, where even the first time when she's just like in that little shed kind of thing,
Mhm.
the camera like tightens in and it increasingly gets darker as he kind of covers the light from the planet on the outside,
Hmm,
so creating this very claustrophobic and what is otherwise supposed a very beautiful like stretching landscape.
mhm.
They create this sense of claustrophobia every time he comes around, and like the light fades away by this imperial presence, and like also of her mind because she's literally traumatized by these people. um so
Yeah,
there's a lot there, and I think a lot of that was just driven by the contrast that they were getting at with this planet.
yeah,
And otherwise it's very peaceful. Everyone's just a bunch of farmers and
yeah.
migrant
I like it.
workers.
I like it when that happens, like, especially when you look at, like, the music world.
Yeah,
Um, a band that I admittedly never listened to, but I heard their lead singer say this, in an interview, Maroon 5, notably, always I mean, they're like a pop band. All their
yeah,
music very happy sounding,
yeah,
all their lyrics extremely depressing
yes,
and the opposite of happy. I love it when that happens, or like you have, songs with, slow, sad boy songs, but the lyrics are like overwhelmingly positive and joyful.
yeah,
Just like the play on emotion where you're taking in visually or audibly uh, a certain vibe and expecting, you know, that vibe to be completed in your brain. But then something they pull a Ryan Johnson on you,
yeah,
subvert those expectations.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, it's pretty good observation there, Nicholas.
yeah. Most of that was stolen, but that's okay.
Don't
um,
just roll with it.
yeah, no, these are all very good observations, but um that's just part of the to me, just I don't know, maybe that's because we watch this to do a podcast on it, and
Hmm.
just like anything we do, we walk away just appreciating it just a little bit more than we maybe did it first, right? The Midnight Club effect, we can
Mhm,
call it. So, even if it's boring and you're just not vibing with the content, it's
mhm.
still visually is very appealing. Like they do take the detail to like make this all feel very real. I mean, these are all built sets. Like there's very little CGI and all that jazz outside of the obvious requirements for CGI, like blasters and TIE fighters. But um, I don't know, like at least that still captivates me, even if I'm not totally jiving with um what's going on content wise.
Yeah.
But the Jungle Planet, again, big miss there. Like
Get out of here.
other than the vibe at first that it was this like horror sequence that we're gonna
Mhm.
get, and then they just bailed on that because we just got one time one
Yeah.
dude gets snatched by like a weird dinosaur thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Big letdown.
Yeah, so let's summarize the Jungle Planet. He crashes,
Yep.
there's, like,
They infight.
rebel civil war happening,
Yep. It's
uh,
Yavin 4
and he makes his escape when they get distracted.
and play rock, paper, scissors to squabble their differences.
Yeah. The end.
And he takes that, yeah, as an opportunity to just like break in. Like, though I do like the vibe he has when he's getting away from them. He's like, I am literally ditching these idiots. Like, they are the biggest waste of time for both me and the audience. Like, let's
Yeah.
leave. Um,
Yeah, and then the Mina Rao? Is that
yep, Mina Rao.
right? So that whole thing can be summarized too, because it's, uh we'll save the episode 3 part for episode 3, but essentially, the crew find, refuge on this planet. They're, like, working for this farmer who knows that they're rebels.
Mhm.
He's taking them in, he's kind of protecting them, but because, one of the consequences, hey, episode title, of the rebellion is the Empire, of course, is tightening their grip on, the galaxy, and they're basically knocking on they're like being, the Empire version of ICE.
Yeah, yeah, because they do an audit on the planet to like make
Yeah.
sure everything's on the up and up, but they cut comms and they just start randomly. Um,
Yep. Going through the
what was that
different
New York?
sectors.
What was that New York policy that they basically chalked up to be pretty racist? Where I forget what
I
it's
feel like
called.
you're gonna have to be a little more specific.
Oh, sorry. It was just a noble one because it went like well into like the 2000s and basically where they would just be allowed to just grab random people off the street and like search them, and it
Oh,
just
jeez.
very much was racially driven, but I think by like numbers, I don't know.
Hmm.
But it's kind of like that. They're like, hey, we're gonna show up and we're just gonna spot check everything.
Yep.
But
Got your
increasingly,
papers?
more detailed. Where
Yeah. And then outside of the Mon Mothma thing, which I think we probably should spend the most time on because
yeah, that's the
that's
most
the
detailed
bulk
thing.
of this arc. We have the Empire side of things. Um, of course,
I mean, episode 1 here though, very nice. We get Krennic like right off the bat, which
yeah,
is awesome that Krennic's back.
they're like little secret meeting off the
Yeah,
books.
Ben Mendelsohn.
Medelson, yeah,
Um, glad he's back. I'm glad he's not CGI'd. He's still alive, so that's good.
always a plus.
We don't like CGI directors of the Empire running around.
Yeah, exactly.
So glad to see he's back. But this is cool because this reminds me again of Solo, where we kind of have like this Imperial base up on the mountain, not Solo, the Bad Batch, right? That
Oh
because
yes, yes, yes.
we see this exact same kind of scene
Mhm.
where, and this is a direct reference to like Nazis, where they had their um like estates and like big meetings of all the big people in the like Swiss Alps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So direct reference there. But this is a very interesting introduction to the Empire here. So we have the summit. We have a bunch of like handpicked people, Krennic picked to be there. All hush hush. He's like, if they're not in this room, they don't know about it. You don't talk about it. Um, we get the addition of the Ministry of Enlightenment. which is basically the propaganda arm of the Empire, which is also kind of like the Bene Gesserit from Dune, where
Yeah.
they're just kind of implanting
It's propaganda.
propaganda
Yeah.
places, and
I
they're
also
like,
love the Ministry of Enlightenment, like, sounds very Harry Potter.
yeah, yeah. I did think it sounded just like that. The Ministry of Magic, but yeah, they're the Ministry of Enlightenment. These two dudes are total douches. And they're like, anything you already know about this place, we already said it. Um, but this planet, Gorman, um, this is this is this is fun because this scene with what they're talking about at this Imperial Summit about what they need to do to Gorman. And we get this like funny intro video where they watch like a 1960s like
Yeah.
projector reel like of
It's, like,
Gorman.
very
And
Fallout-esque.
yeah, very Fallout-esque. Where we got their basically their industry here is like they have these spiders that are native that spin very nice silk that makes very nice clothes.
Mhm.
Um, and part of the complexity here is like this is also like Chandrila, a core world. So like the issue of core worlds in the Empire is they're very well it's like cities. It's like it's easy to stomp on the rural outer rim places, right? And make stuff go on there without anyone
Mhm.
noticing. It's harder to do that with core worlds. Like the ones we see. So Gorman, they basically want to. It's funny. They just get right to the point. They're like, "Well, we just gotta basically torch the place. We gotta disrupt the core. We're trying to mine this stuff because we gotta coat the
Yeah.
reactor of the Death Star. They don't say Death Star yet because it's the energy project."
Yeah.
Um,
And
and I just
basically to get, like, to mine everything they need, it's
they
basically
called
gonna.
it gouge mining, I think.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
had the term for it, but he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna really just destroy the planet, so we got to get rid of these people." Krennic's just like, "Yeah, unfortunate, but it's just how it is."
yeah.
Um, so we also I don't know, we just get Krennic right out the gate, which I love, and he's just down for whatever to do the deeds. And
I do love how he, like, after they kind of, like, convene or have a little recess from the meeting, like, he and Dedra are looking out the window, and he's like, "So, what do you think?" And she's like, I'm still thinking about it." And he's like, "BS. Uh, really? Tell me what you
nonsense.
think."
Yeah,
And then she just, like, cuts takes her mask off and is just like, "Well, actually," pushes up her glasses. Do you remember exactly what she said, like, what her plan
yeah.
was?
So yeah, and the reason she does that is because she doesn't want the job. We find out in episode 2, when she talks to Partagas, whatever his name is.
Mhm,
She wants to continue chasing Luthen. Like that's what
mhm,
she wants to do. So that's why she tried to play off as disinterested, but she ended up getting the job anyways because you have to answer to Krennic when he doubles down on the
right,
"What would you do? Don't give me no BS."
right.
And
And
basically
also
her
Patagas, like, afterwards, as they're walking back into the ISB, is like, "Dude, like, you need this. Like, you might not think you need this, but, like, you need this.
like yo, like Krennic,
Yeah, you don't turn
he's
this
like this
down."
to the Emperor. He's like just perpendicular below him.
Yeah,
Like he's 3 people removed, maybe even 1 because it goes Emperor, Tarkin, Krennic, Darth Vader kind of off to the side. So yeah, he's like, don't be dumb. Like
yeah,
career, like you're a career person. You're all
yeah,
about it. And as we find out in this arc, one of the good takeaways, she was she was without parents. She was an orphan and brought up in a kinder block, which I love because it's like kinder care, child care, but it's an imperial kinder block, which I think is awesome.
yikes.
And that explains a lot about Daedra. That is why she lives and breathes the
She's
Empire,
soulless.
and she's soulless. Like she literally was raised by the Empire. And we see all that detail as we kind of explore her personal life a little bit more. But
Mhm,
what she tells Krennic, and he's basically like, "Oh yeah, that's the thinking I need." And this is also a continuation of the thinking that Partagas told her in season 1. It's like we need people are going to think outside the box here and actually do stuff. Um, and she's like, we need rebels that we can trust to mess things up. Because she learned from Ferrex, like I'm sure it didn't go any better for Ferrex once that, we didn't really get an update on how Ferrex is doing, but I don't think it's doing any better than when we left it.
Yeah, I'm gonna say probably not. Yeah,
Probably
it's
not.
probably not in a great place, right?
Yeah. But, we kind of, that's just a fun scene. And they do some effort to like uh contrast it to like the jungle scene where they're just scrapping for food, and but like the Empire's just eating their little
Yeah.
like wafer snacks and like having a good old time. So we see
Mhm.
again this stretch of high society organized terror, and then just unorganized chaos down
Yeah.
in the rebel trenches.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really kind of brings us to episode 2.
Yeah, interesting meeting, interesting, you know, getting the ball rolling on what we all know is coming. But I think the biggest shock, at least for me, regarding Dedra and her storyline as we
Yeah.
get into episode 2 and 3 is like, what the heck happened here with
So
Cyril?
we got
Like,
Cyril. He's got his boss, his season 1 boss's job.
yeah.
He's introducing a new worker just as he was introduced.
Do
But
you get
he goes,
American Psycho like Bateman impressions from Cyril? Like especially when he's like giving the new person a tour and he's like, yeah, and you could be like me if it's like basically Bateman's like
"This one time
monologues
I found."
in that movie he says out loud.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And he's so geeked up about this, like, I don't know if it was money or materials that were being like embezzled around, and
Yeah.
they're just. But also, this reminds me of Severance because there's like data mining, and they could totally sever these people and it would work
Oh
out for the
yeah.
better. But Screen Crush noted that what he found was likely the Empire just moving materials for the Death Star.
Oh really?
Because right now the Death Star, no one knows about the Death Star. It's all very hush hush.
True.
Like
True.
they've genocided the Geonosians, the entire planet, because they knew about it and they started building it there. And they're just like, yeah, you guys are bugs, aliens. You're not humans, so you're less than anything. So we're just gonna wipe you all out. You're welcome. And we're gonna move the Death Star and continue construction. So yeah, I thought that was a fun little note. Like very likely, like Cyril is just finding corruption in the Empire when it's really just the Empire trying to like move stuff around quietly.
Right.
Like go figure, Cyril's just like sniffing up the wrong tree per usual.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we see that, and then we see her, Daedra, at like her apartment, which we get is very sterile, very imperial. So we know that Daedra at home is basically Daedra at work. And they double down at that in episode 3. But dude, when he comes home and like I'm like, oh my god, they're in the same house together. I'm like, no, Daedra, why?
Yeah.
Why did you do this?
Yeah, I was I mean, I'm here for it. But it's kind of weird. Like we joked around about it at, like 2 episodes ago. Or no, I guess it would have been last episode. During the finale cuz they get like awkwardly close as he saves her, right?
Yeah.
Um yeah, like what how did this like we need to get like the dots.
Yeah. Yeah, just a little bit, because was it, did they just never leave each other's side from there? Or was it like a month later he just like creeped up on her? It's like, hey, we got this thing in common. I saved you
Yeah.
during a very scary time in your life. We have a connection now.
He actually kidnapped her and she is suffering from
Right?
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. It's like that's why I was like, no, don't
Yeah.
do it. It doesn't know.
Dude, but so their story is kind of like a dead end and not consequential in this arc.
It really
But
should.
like
Yeah.
his mom comes out like
For
I love
dinner.
how he's like, oh, I thought if I just went shopping, then we wouldn't have to do this.
She came
Um,
home early. He didn't expect it, and he was like, "Crap! Like, how can I?"
yeah,
I was like, "I was hoping you'd not come home, and we could just cancel on that." Um,
yeah, I
it
love
really
it.
just goes to show, like, she is herself inside and outside of work. She
Yeah.
puts the best moment there is like she puts Cyril's mom in her place. She's like, I
Oh,
see
yeah,
this
dude,
control
that
thing
was
you're
awesome.
doing. We're stopping that right now. She's like, I know how I said that sounds like it might be a choice, but it's not, honey.
Dude, that was awesome. I
It's just,
loved it.
but also I'm still so confused about the relationship because Cyril goes and pouts on the bed because he can't handle his mom. And like in that moment, Deidre like stands up and is like, "Hey, I'm now his mommy." And it's just like, what are we like? So is she just like having a pet man child as a housemate? Like it's just I don't understand the dynamics going on here.
Yeah, I mean, he appears to be pretty clean. So, I mean, like, if we're talking roommates, as long as
Yeah.
he's not like a serial killer like
I
Bateman,
I mean I think he
like
is. He would be, right? Like if it was the Republic, he would be a serial killer because there was no like government
yeah.
body to like, we like you.
He's like, teetering on being the Empire's version of Saw.
Guerrera?
Yeah. Just like a complete psychopath or like loose cannon, you don't really know what he's gonna do. But like
Yeah.
everything he does in his mind, he thinks is like the perfect thing to do for his cause.
Yeah, that is true. Cause at
Complete
least
wild
like
card.
yeah, because like Saw is like and that's when Saw named off all these different things. Like he named off a ton of rebel cells, and like even one of them, like the I forget what it was, but one reference like even what Mon Mothma would be considered. And he's like, they're lost, lost, all of them, lost, which is great. Um, that's how Cyril feels about everyone not Empire. And everyone even in the Empire that's not doing it like he's doing it. He's like,
Right.
they're all lost.
Yeah.
This is the way.
They're the same. Just two sides of the same coin.
That dude is gassed up, man. Um,
But that leads us to, the last big arc between this 3 episode chapter
Mon
and of
Mothma.
course like
3-day
the
wedding.
the final bit of episode 3. Your favorite character, Mon Mothma. What's going on in Mon's world?
Dude. So 1 year later, Mon is still kind of now dealing with the reality that she has sold her daughter for the rebellion, right? Again,
Yeah.
what are the consequences, sacrifices that we must make for the rebellion? We get a cool detail where in episode 3, right before like the dance party, she tells her, she's like, my mom on this day was drunk. And we just find her just trying not to be her mother, but then she just
Yeah.
ends up being her mother anyways. But like she tries again to like reconcile with her daughter and be like, you don't have to do
Yeah.
this.
You
And her
can
daughter's just
you can
like
say no.
supreme B and just like, I wish you were drunk. It's like
The
wow. So
worst. Literally the worst. Be gone. Enjoy your forced marriage.
Mon has the greatest intentions, but no one's here for it. she she's trying,
Yeah.
not having it. But yeah, so we're on Chandrilla, and we are at the Mothma estate, which is literally a fortress castle in the most gorgeous set of. Kind
Yeah,
of gives me
super
like,
cool.
kind of like deep China, where
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
mountains get like
Yeah.
that. That just reminds me of.
It tracks, with the name and the similarities, like kind of like we were talking about
Very true.
Shangri-La last,
Very
couple
true.
episodes ago or whatever.
But I don't know, like this arc just continued that that dialogue detail that keeps you just like listening because it's
Mhm.
all so well woven together, even though it is stretched out over 3 episodes. But I think that's cool because this wedding is also 3 days. So we kind of have Friday when everyone's showing up. We see Mon and her husband kind of like just talk, just like anyone would before a party. And they're just like, they're in the zone. Everything should be ready. They're welcoming the guests. And, you know, she sees someone on the landing pad. I didn't quite know who it was, but I had a feeling who it was. The closer she got, I'm like, yeah, it's probably Luthen. And it was. And Vel's there, which is
Yeah.
great. Vel's obviously family, has to be there.
Yeah.
to support Mon in this horrible thing that she completely disagrees her daughter should be doing. I love how Vel is just the very progressive aunt who's just like, this is BS. She's so put out by everything in this
Yeah.
arc. But yeah, very quickly we get to like the meat and potatoes of this arc where Luthen shows up unannounced and she's like, "Why are you here again?" And he's like, "Oh, that's kind of a secret per usual." And it's
Yeah.
wild because he is there. Who's the gangster guy?
Oh,
The Banker's Tay.
yeah. Skuldrum?
Skuldrum, yeah.
Skuldum?
Yeah. So
Scrotum?
Luthen,
Whatever.
interesting enough, if people are paying attention and we see remember Skuldrum as like the gangster guy,
Mm,
obviously father of the groom,
mhm.
talking with Luthen out on the patio, out on the the entryway, and Mon has no idea about what's going on, and like that's just suspicious all around because whenever Luthen's involved,
Yeah.
and this very rich gangster who she's welcoming into the family, she just immediately feels ick
Yeah.
all over her, and she feels left out. And very quickly we have Tay kind of rolling around and
Mhm.
hinting at something he needs to talk to Mon about. She's been ignoring him. She's been busy.
Uh,
He's doing that traditional like I'm gonna
planting seeds, baby.
plant seeds, but like I'm gonna corner you at a public event where you can't escape me, and gonna get down to it.
Yes.
Um,
The one place you can't leave, your daughter's wedding.
yeah. Um, and the first episode is 1 year later, just to catch everybody up.
Mm.
But the second episode is called Sagrona Teema, and this is kind of like a Chandrian phrase that
Yes.
they incorporate. That is interesting, and we just get a lot of this wedding sequence tradition just
Mhm.
like thrown onto us. Everything circles in this place, which is wild. Like the tables circle, there's circles on the floor. All their archways are really cool circles, but it gives off this vibe of being a very old society, um, and very very fancy. I would like to see what the poor people look like on this planet if they exist. They
They
may
don't.
not exist,
Mm-mm.
because Star Wars, when you're in space, you have this ability to like make a
No longer
planet.
be poor.
Right? Yeah, like Naboo. Like Naboo was just 100% the city of Naboo, and they were all just one way.
Yeah.
Zero diversity because the whole planet is just one thing.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of people here because even um, Luthen's like assistant, she's there too, and her and Luthen are going back and forth because Luthen right away is like, "Hey, the whole casting thing, how's that going?" She's like, "We're here. I don't have my stuff. I can't really do much, and it would be way too risky." He's like, we got to know."
Yeah.
Um, One thing that didn't get answered for me through this whole entire arc is why was that mission so important to Luthen and Andor and all of them to like steal a TIE
Yeah.
fighter?
Well, luckily, we have 9 more episodes, I'm sure.
That's why I feel like
They'll
they
play
have.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, they'll play that out, and I feel like also my griping about, the jungle rebel cells, like, they'll come they'll come back around somewhere in season 2, they have to. They spent way too much time. Way too much time on the stupid TIE fighter and those stupid rebels for them not to come back in some way later on in the season.
right. Because right now, like that mission for Andor was just to keep him away from Bix and crew, so something tragic can happen there.
Mhm.
And Luthen and crew are very interested in how that goes, which we don't know. So then maybe we'll get 6 episodes here. That is one thing, and then we'll have
Oh, yeah.
two two independent arcs. So kind of the reverse of season 1. If I were to guess.
Yeah.
But the one, it's just Luthen though here. Luthen throughout all these scenes is doing his Luthen thing, but we get Luthen 90, 80% Luthen. like we call him Grandma
Grandma
Luthen.
Luthen.
Grandma Luthen, with just like 20%
Yes.
Luthen.
Check out this amazing statue I brought you.
And whether it's the what's the planet that the Empire's gonna torch?
Starts with a G.
Yeah, Gormon.
Whatever. Gormon.
He's talking to the one pair of people there, and the kid was kind of explaining like his mom was from there, his dad's from Chandrilla. And when he mentions Gorman, he's like, ooh, because like clearly he knows like Gorman's having an issue. Mon Mothma also on one of her empty speeches at the Senate in season 1 mentioned the Gorman people. So this is kind of a background thing that's going on. But like Luthen like puts his face of like, oh, that's sorry to hear that like your mother is from there. That's not going to go well. And then also when he was talking to the pair of Imperial people, and he was like, oh, well, where were you stationed at? And it's like, oh, we're stationed here, but we're all packing up and heading out. He's like, oh, really? Where's everyone headed to? He's doing this like espionage thing, which is just fun, but he's acting like this eccentric grandma, but
I love it.
everything he does, he's just playing a part.
Tentful, yes.
Yeah. So all those conversations are fun. But what really starts to happen is he observes Tay and the tension that him and Mon start having in their conversations.
Yeah.
And he gets kind of privy to what's his deal. Mon's like, he's disgruntled. I wish you would have told me sooner. We could have helped you sooner. Because the problem with Tay, as he tells Mon, is obviously douchebag gangster. He gets what he wants. He's married into high society, the Mothma family. Your rebel thing's going great, but because of all that rebel activity, my investments have gone south, and I'm kind of feeling like I'm not getting any upside out of this whole deal.
Got chewed up and spat out.
And if I kind of don't start seeing things look better for me, I'm gonna talk to our buddy over here. I need money. I can tell him things. Mothma's like, we'll talk about it next week. We'll schedule a meeting, which I love, on Coruscant. Yeah. And she goes to Luthen about that. And Luthen's like, what's the number? He's like, I don't know. We'll figure it out next week. He's like, not soon enough. Bro needs to give us a number, or,
Do you think it's a number? Or do you think it's Mon?
Ooh, no. I think it is. It's a good point. No, he seems pretty upset with her, and I think he would have led with that if that was that simple. I think it's a money thing, very purely.
Because like they mentioned in season 1 how they were kind of like had a little thing when they were kids.
True.
And then her husband calls him her boyfriend.
Yep. It was just great.
Like, hey, your boyfriend's here.
She's like, I don't know who you mean. Like, come on, Mon, you know exactly who he means.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I just throwing weird stuff out there. But he's
pretty
not happy
about the situation.
Not excited.
And we all know how Luthen doesn't like loose ends.
Yeah. And her husband mentions, I think when he calls him her boyfriend, that like he had to be taken home on the first night because he got a little too much fun. He's just not in a great place.
But did you get the sense that her husband might have learned something he should not have learned about Mon when he took him home? Like, I feel like he loosened up and might have opened up and complained to her husband. It might have led on about what really might be going on.
Ooh, I don't know. I didn't pick that up, but
I got a mild vibe there because, like, I think, right, yeah, that could have referenced, like, the truth about them in the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe even to compound on what you said just a little bit ago, maybe he was like, oh, I totally want your wife, bro. Like, I'm all about your wife.
Nick's like, same. What?
Same. It could have either been that. I kind of felt like, is he suggesting like Tay spilled the beans about some not on the up and up foundations going on.
Uh-oh.
It's like, so yeah, I don't know. That's something to keep an eye on, because that definitely needs to play forward, because that really kind of suggests, where does her husband end up? Because like we talked about in season 1, like her husband definitely ain't hanging around when she
Yeah.
becomes leader of the rebellion. All about um that's the other thing. This leads right into Rogue One. She is for sure leader of the rebellion in Rogue One, right? Like she's on base with Luthen and gang, with on Yavin 4. Um,
12 more episodes, or 9 more episodes to get
in
there.
in Rebels, we see her become leader the moment it's on a hologram. The moment she like announces like the unified rebellion, and saw like holograms back, like this is BS. Like you suck. Like you're too soft. So like that happens somewhere like in the middle of all this. So I don't know if that must happen somewhere. I don't know if we'll get to see that. It would be cool maybe if we got to see some of that in live action, and it's a direct correlation to a moment from
Mhm.
Star Wars Rebels. That's always cool when they do that. We've seen that with the Bad Batch, where they directly overlapped scenes from a
Yeah.
different perspective that happened in the movies.
When,
Um,
so on the timeline,
yeah.
where does that fit in? Because obviously it's not now, but it's be like, where does Rebels fit in here?
So Rebels is effectively, the easiest way to think about it, the beginning of Andor to the end of Andor. It's
Oh, okay.
basically exactly overlapping with Andor,
So
especially now that we're time jumping.
that whole thing with Saw, I mean, obviously we just talked about she becomes the leader of the rebellion like in the next 9 episodes. So
Yep.
that scene you're talking about with Saw would be
Yep.
within these next 9 episodes.
Yeah.
At some point, whether we see it on screen or not, it happened there.
Ahsoka's running around too with the Rebels as well. But a lot of Rebels, it might be fair. So the very beginning, so season 1 Andor, you may be able to position as predating Rebels. There's probably, you could probably verify this with like dates and stuff, but
Mhm.
probably predates Rebels, because I think season 1 is very much intended to be like the literal beginning of the rebellion to some degree, outside of things Saw's doing and unorganized stuff. Whereas like Rebels, that sparks up on their planet, and very quickly they get tied into the rebellion that's already operational.
Mhm.
So maybe it might be more accurate to say Rebels takes place within season 2 of Andor.
That makes sense.
So definitely in these 4 years before the Battle of Yavin.
I like it.
Yep.
We did get a date, I think. Was it in
4.
in the beginning of episode 2 or something?
Yeah. Or just
For
episode 1 year
BBY,
later.
what's
So
it
it's,
called?
yeah, 4 BBY, before
Hmm,
Battle of Yavin.
nice. Yeah. So, you think Tay just wants money?
Yeah, he just wants money. Obviously potential for more complexity there, but unfortunately we're not going to find out. Because
And he
punchline,
might not find out either.
yeah, because he had to leave early. Basically after he said his piece and told Mon like, yeah, I need money. I need to be happy about what's going on here, or I'm going to start talking.
Mhm.
And she's like, whatever. You're annoying. And Luthen's like, yeah, sure. Whatever you say, Mon. You have that meeting with him. Get that scheduled. Because Vel's girlfriend, Cinta from the Aldani
She's back.
sequence, she's back. She's the driver. The surprise replacement driver for Tay. Poor guy. He's so dead or so captured. I don't know. Do you think they'll kill him or just capture him? Maybe just kill him.
I think
He's got money though. You can
I
extort
don't
his
think he'll
ass.
kill him. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're setting it
Just
up for high stakes drama, but I don't think he'll.
this is
But
true.
that
This is
also
true.
would be wild if they They just killed him.
I just took it as they might just straight up just off him. But you make a good
Yeah.
point. Maybe they could just control him, keep him, extort him because
Yeah.
he is a banker and he's got money and
If
Luthen
they
likes money.
well, like, if they killed him, like, that would cause a major rift between, you know, the current leader of the rebellion and the future leader of the rebellion. Maybe that's but no, Luthen's still, like,
That's
a power player in Rogue One.
yeah, that's the thing though, is I think we're gonna learn that Mon that she's kind of unraveling her, her things she's attached to,
Yeah.
right? Like she's about to basically lose her daughter. Her husband is unredeemable.
Well, she doesn't want she wants to lose that at this
She's
point.
getting married to the rebellion. So at this point, but even when she's talking to Luthen, I think you can. It's even on her face. Like she knows this is not a good situation for Tay, and she's telling
Yeah.
Luthen what's going on. She's like, that's why she was like, "We'll get a number." Like again, the dynamic between them. She's super optimistic, forgiving, and like we will negotiate a way to a resolution. Where Luthen's just like, there's a shorter way we can go about this. Like we can do something today about it. We don't have to wait till next week. He's like, a lot
Yeah.
can happen between now and next week. I don't
Take that
like
as
that.
you will, Mon.
Yeah, and I think she's very aware of that.
Yeah. She does take it. Uh and also several shots.
Yeah, I
And
think that all
then
her plays into
oh,
the
dude, I
to the rave
love
with Niamos.
yes, I love it. Like she just completely her whole character just breaks down and she's just like, "You know what? There's only one solution. Dance party."
Dance party
Just
with
like going
the
hard.
the drone disco DJ orb thing just rolls into the middle of the floor like right after the very traditional dances, and then it shows up and all the young people are just like, yeah, DJ Snake, Little John, turn down for what? Like they just
Yeah.
my mom was like, I love this song.
Dude, I seriously though, as an end to an episode, like I loved it. Just
Yeah,
weaving the scenes of her just completely letting go with the music overlaying all the other scenes.
yeah,
It's just like it created a really cool tension and like obviously something is going on with Mon because that is totally out of character for her.
yeah.
Um, but also at the same time, it's kind of like, you know what? You just you go, girl. Just
Yeah, because I mean, she tried to save her daughter and give her an out. She would like to try to redeem the business relationship with Tay and give him an out, find the number, right, make him happy. But her daughter was like, "Yeah, no, mom, just go get drunk and be a crappy mother.
she's
Um,
like, say less.
say less." And Luthen's like, "Yeah," because he even says like, basically, that's nice for you. Well, I forget what they're talking about exactly, but he was just like, "That's good for you." But like not gonna work for everyone else. Like, so yeah, everyone's just kind of like she's trying to hold on to everything she can, and Tay's doomed, daughter's doomed. Maybe not either dead, but they're
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah. And while that's all going on, Cassian makes it back. Like,
He pulls a Luke Skywalker, dips out of
yeah,
the mission. He's like, I'm gonna save my friends.
yeah, because he's like out flying, makes contact with Bix, and she says that they're being audited, and then the whole Star Wars theory triggering scene happens.
But he also
And
talks to Luthen's
oh,
assistant.
that's who he makes contact with
Yeah.
first.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
gets
Because he
over to Mina Rao, um, aka Rebel Moon, and comes in like Brasso gets discovered. Will is out like getting ready to make out with his farmer girl,
saying goodbye
and
to the
the
local.
yeah, the whole plan that's happening here is the farmer they're working for gets them like an outdated repair order to
Yep.
go to a different district that they've already checked. So in hopes that they'll just be out there repairing, making a repair while their section's being audited so they don't get carded or anything. So they're preparing to leave, but it all goes to crap when Will's not with the group. His speeder's out there. Brasso goes to help him. He gets caught, and he's like being held at the like store, I guess, like a little storefront
Little
or
shop,
whatever.
yeah. Little depot.
Um, yeah, and you know, all while that's going on, the lieutenant guy's like at their little house with Bix and getting his head beat in with a hammer. And like,
I mean, that's the other thing about that scene that everyone can just cool off about. One, nothing actually happened, and the dude totally gets his shit kicked in and then gets killed. So I think it turned out all right.
yeah, I mean, it's a close call, but like
Close call.
he met his fate.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Andor comes or Cassian comes in and he's like lighting up the troopers with the TIE
Cooking
fighter.
them, using his
Uh,
enemy's weapons against them.
yeah, yeah, pulling a Luthen.
Yes, sir.
But not fast enough because Brasso.
He dumps the grain on him just like he dumped that archway on the TIE fighters when he was escaping. Sayonara.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So what did they do in Rebel Moon? What did they dump on? We'll have to do a rewatch. Except I value my own life too much to sit
Yeah.
through that movie again.
Yeah.
And that's coming from a Zack Snyder fan.
That's right.
Just
That's
saying.
right. Did you watch the second one? Just say yes or no.
Yes, unfortunately,
Okay.
it was worse.
No. It was
Like
worse.
45 minutes of the second one was recapping the first one. I'm like,
Oh,
bro,
no.
I watched the first one. Anyways, this could quickly
Don't do it.
just totally
Yes or
just
no.
go down the toilet.
Yes or no.
But yeah, Brasso gets shot in the back. It's sad. Funny side note, one of my old neighbors back in Ohio, like if you squint your eyes
It looks like
at
Brasso.
just the right like thing, looks like Brasso. And I sent him a picture and he's like, that does not look like me. I'm like, yes, it does. Shut up.
You live in Ohio, full of wheat fields.
Yeah, and rip the cornfield behind my old house. It's now a subdivision. So we got out right in time.
That's right.
Mon's daughter, if you squint your eyes, kind of looks like Jeff's oldest child. Anyways, there's just too many people in this dang show. If you squint your eyes, look like somebody you might know.
Yeah, you do a lot of squinting.
Yeah, so he gathers up Bix and Will.
Yep.
Not B though, right?
We did not get to see what comes of B. Really hope he picks him up.
Yeah. They scoop him up in the TIE fighter and they're zipping out of there.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's why I really feel like this is a 6-part arc, like the second half of season 1, because you're right. Like we totally just get left off on what's happening there, where they go. B still in the air. We just cut the black on Mon, which is great through that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. It starts great, ends great. The middle's just choppy. The Mon arc is really the most the most Andor-esque, because we get all the dialogue tension
But
throughout.
even some of the Mon stuff feels very repetitive. It's
Yes.
cool because we get to see like a whole new place.
The statue.
The statue, that lore was really cool.
Yeah, that was a thing from Legends, like old stuff. Like
Oh.
that was like an external alien race that invaded the galaxy. And it was like the idea that like they had total control of the galaxy,
Mhm.
and that's why the galaxy became a republic, is because they basically overthrew their ultimate oppressors, um, that were this alien race that just dominated everything, because they kind of go into like the first like uprising against them. Um, but yeah, that's why Luthen was there with the gangster. And I like they had a little back and forth in terms of like it was an adventure to get that. Would love to hear Luthen's little adventures and how he gets all these very nice artifacts, because his shop is just filled with stuff. Plo Koon's mask is in there.
Mhm.
Um, lots of fun things in there. Star Killer's mask from the Force Unleashed is in there as well. So
Yeah.
um,
But yeah, here we are, chapter 1.
chapter one,
Finn.
not horrible. The weakest though, probably.
Yeah.
I'd have to think about how it compares to like 7, 8, 9 of last
Yeah.
season.
But, like, even though that was, like, the weakest part of season 1, like, the prison thing
Oh, that's
was
right. The
was
prison
very
thing was
f
in there.
fascinating.
The start of
Uh,
the prison. Well, okay, so we get the wait. We just watched it. Now I already forget like the order of things. Um, is that when we get the Miami?
yeah,
Miami. We get
Star
the
Wars Miami, baby.
Star Wars Miami. We get the prison intro. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely better. This is definitely the weakest chapter so far.
Yeah.
It's number 5 out of 5, or
Yeah.
however you want to rank that.
But hey, guys,
Only up
thank
from
you.
here.
Yes, and thank you for being here with us as we, um, finally got to react to some new Andor. We will be back here again next Thursday, 9 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock PM Eastern. And we'll be breaking out chapter 2, which will be episodes 4, 5, and 6. So make sure you tune in, subscribe here on YouTube, follow us on Facebook. We're streaming these on Twitch also, so you can follow us on Twitch if you're a Twitch guy or gal. These episodes next day are landing on our audio platforms. So if you're trying to listen in the car or whatever, you can find us on Spotify, Apple, all those podcasting platforms. Make sure you follow us. Give us a review. That would be super helpful. Leave some comments. Let us know what you thought of chapter 1, season 2 here. And yeah, I'm excited to see how these final 9 episodes unwind and tie together this lovely series to Rogue One. Um, Anything else you need to get off your chest before we get out of here?
I don't think so. That's about everything. Without
Nice.
going too overboard.
Yeah. Well, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks. Have a good one.